Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going dark mode for this one.
Yeah, I can see from my side. It's recording good.
Which do you prefer? I don't care.
Just that the red one that makes thing on top means recording, and yeah.
Okay.
We unplugged that one.
Yeah, I unplugged the whole line.
You know, it's
really?
Yeah.
No, we didn't.
Okay. I want to talk about your pathway to success. This has been a much debated topic for over a year. For us, for Mr. Metzger, his team, Mr. Peterman, all the guys in Florida, some of the other school owners that now have more than 4 or 5 staff members, and what the future looks like for those staff members, and how can we create the best possible outcome for all of you guys in the short term as well as in the long term. And it's been a long conversation. Mr. Metzger and I have not always. Oh my gosh, what did I do now? I totally did. Where's my remote? There we go. Look at this. Okay. And we still don't agree on some of those things. But what we did agree on is the pathway that we had originally started using a couple of years ago was not good enough. It left some very large gaps from one job description to the next that were very difficult for you guys to make that huge leap in competency, in confidence, to get from one place to another. And it was discouraging, and I didn't like that. And it didn't paint a very clear path going forward of where you could go. And it didn't make me happy. So we have changed it. The old way of looking at this was something along these lines. You start as an assistant instructor. At some point, you get good enough that you can basically run classes, and we call you a senior instructor. Or you get hired on as an assistant program director. And now all of a sudden, as this magical senior instructor, we expect you to learn everything in the office and be super good at it in a couple hours a week. And if you can do that, you can make the jump to assistant manager. But then the problem was, as an assistant manager, you're magically expected to know how to do a lot of these people-y things. You're expected to know how to deal with conflict resolution. easier than that. The one I really want, 2 steps ahead. Oops, die. Oh. Getting all complicated. Guard my mouse, please.
Yes, sir.
Don't push that button. I don't know what button it is, but don't push it. Okay. So I want to try and avoid this. So we've been trying to clear up this brain dump blob thing that is very hard for all you to understand. Because if I asked one of you, what are the 3 things, like Hannah, what are the 3 things you are working on at this moment to level up? What are they?
Just where I am right now.
Yeah, what are the 3 things on your list of like the next things you're training?
Oh, it's like intros.
Yeah, see, I would like it to be, the 3 things on my list are I'm learning how to do intros, I'm perfecting my mat chats, and I'm working on MIA calls. Like I want it to be that top of mind for you guys that it just, because you're having one-on-ones with your managers and they know, and they're holding you accountable and you're holding them accountable for having those conversations to hold you accountable. Whew. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So how to move to the next level? Okay. Well, you learn the skill. And then you do a whole lot of reps on the skill. Then you need to share the skill with someone else. And you need to continue getting more reps. And then you need to choose your next skill. But let's talk about each one of these 5 things. Learn the skill. Who, where, how. How do we learn the next skill?
At least how it works for me is just at least knowing what it is.
First, you got to know what skill you got to pick. Right? You got to pick one. Okay. Then, Braxton.
Between onboarding and your mentor.
Okay. So someone is going to teach you the skill, whether it's you watch a bunch of videos or even better, what?
You shadow it.
You shadow it. And that is how this business really works, is honestly, you need to shadow the skills, right? So you see someone do it one time. We good? We get to move on to now we're just going to do it?
No.
Please no. Please no. Learning the skill is we need to watch it 5 or 10 times. For some of the more complicated skills, if it's a enrollment conference, that's the word I was looking for. Is that something you can watch 5 times and have a pretty good handle on what the content is? No. What is really the number of just watching it reps?
20 or 30.
15, 20, 25. If you're like me, 35, because I'm not that fast on the uptake sometimes.
It's kind of like learning forms. Like, if you watch someone do Konkudai one time, can you just do it immediately?
Absolutely not. And that's a good example. How many times do you have to do that before you really have a good handle on what Konkudai is?
I mean,
50, 100?
20 times for the first session.
Yeah, just to get through it, right? Okay, so learning the skill takes time. And we're talking time not in minutes, but probably in weeks or months to get some of these skills down. And then getting the reps is really a blended thing. You're going to do it with someone breathing down your neck, and then you're going to do it with someone checking on you, and then there's going to arrive a magical moment when what?
Do it by yourself.
You can do it by yourself. And at that point, to reinforce it, I expect you to now explain it to someone else. And the first time you explain it to someone else, what else is going to happen? Someone's going to be breathing down your neck while you explain it. Does that make sense? And maybe a couple times. If it didn't go well, there are also probably times where we might go, oh man, we didn't do this for a couple weeks and we need to come back up to here and get some more reps to refresh what we've been working on. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. We continually apply. Just because you moved up in level, does that mean you get to stop making MIA calls?
No.
Does it mean you get to stop cleaning the bathroom?
No.
No. I clean the bathrooms on a regular basis because little boys come in and do the twirly helicopter in the bathroom, and I come in and find it with the twirly helicopter disaster. No, you don't think so? Oh, you're yawning. Okay. I thought you were shocked. That happens all the time. Okay. But here's the honest truth. You may be a senior level 2, and you may suck at cleaning the bathroom, and guess what the skill is you're going to be working on? You're going to go back to learning to clean the bathroom. Okay? Square one. The first thing on every job description is clean stuff. Why? Because I am OCD and anal retentive, and I get grossed out when there's pee on the toilet seat, and so does every mom that goes into your bathroom. And we have lost students because our bathroom smelled like pee. And so from the top down, whatever the skill is you're working on, it's going to be reps, time, just like your martial arts. You want to get good, you're going to do that front kick 50 bazillion times. Program directors, Let's see. Braxton, you've been around the longest. How many enrollment conferences do you think you've actually done? 500? 600? That's the guess I would make, is somewhere in that zone.
Well, every single student signed up from Syracuse for 2.5 years, plus last year's worth of bountifuls.
800?
About 7 months in Kaysville, plus all the couple hundreds that happen every time we have an intro and they don't sign up.
So what do you think, 1,000?
Probably 1,200, 1,500.
Okay. Do you think you have mastered the enrollment conference? Okay. All right. We'll come back to that. No, I'm being totally serious. I'm trying to set up a realistic expectation. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to learn a skill and you're going to be trapped with that skill on your list for 4.5 years, 3.5 years, 3.5 years. For 3, that's what I'm saying. But on the scale of I barely have the basics down to I am an absolute master of this, Braxton is probably quarter of the way there, third of the way there to absolute mastery. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I think we can check that one off for Braxton. We can move on to something else, right? Mm-hmm. And so each one of you is going to be slightly different. I get could you make me a checklist so that I can go eliminate it next week and move on to the next job position? Well, that's going to be a fantastic week for you. You better make a couple thousand phone calls and have several hundred appointments to move to the next thing in 1 week. Does that make sense? Because I expect that by the time we get here, we are very good at what we do. And I worry that sometimes we go, no, I'm good, after we've done 3 enrollment conferences. I don't care how good you are, you're not good after 3 enrollment conferences because you haven't encountered enough of the honorary parent scenarios or wild child rubbing his boogers on the wall of the office. You just don't know. You don't know how to adapt and roll with those punches yet because you just don't have the reps. But what I would like to see is your managers stepping up their game to help you move through this process much more effectively and much quicker by giving you as many opportunities to role play, to do this, to be in front of the customers and get your reps in as quickly as possible. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
And let's see, what is the next magical slide? Okay, but now it's I got to the end and I need to select the next skill to work on. Where does that come from? Your job description. Where are you? Where are you going? And what is after that? So let's say your current job description is you're a junior associate level 3 or a senior associate level 1 because the tasks are very much the same. Remember, a senior level 1, you've just made a time commitment to be there 35 hours or more per week. So we clean the school, we teach amazing classes, we make MIA calls. This is paraphrasing. You all have them. I don't know if you noticed, but you have every single job description, right? You can look them up. This is just me paraphrasing. You lead Parents' Nights Out at this point. You can lead a 2-week course. You can run an intro class. You're pretty competent. We've got a lot of reps on the first layer of our onion, which is doing karate, teaching karate, right? To move to the next level, we're now going to make the commitment to really apprentice our head instructor or program director, depending on which job description we want. But we have all the responsibilities of those lower level. This never goes away, and you are going to continue upping your game. Always, always, always. But now you're going to assist with lead calls. This is not your responsibility. The buck does not stop at you at this point, but you're going to assist with lead calls, assist with enrollment conferences, assist with upgrade conferences, etc. There's other things, right? But this is just an easy snapshot for me to go through. This is that we're watching them do it, they're watching us do it, they're spot checking us do it, and then they're letting us do it by ourselves. And then this magical moment will arrive where your program director, most likely, because this is really office heavy, right, is going to call Jennifer and go, you know what? Bob has been doing an amazing job of these. I haven't had to intervene in a single enrollment conference. His conversion rate is awesome, as good as mine. We're getting the people scheduled. I haven't had to do anything to help him. I would like to recommend that we move him to a senior level 3. Does that make sense, what I'm shooting for? You have proven your competency here, and now, therefore, we make lead calls effectively and efficiently. We run enrollment conferences. We run upgrade conferences. We are good. And now I'm going to assign you someone to mentor in all of these things. You're going to continue your training by training someone else, so that I don't dump you in as an assistant manager, surprise, and you're going, what does that even mean? And I expect you to run a meeting. Well, if you can't run a level 10 meeting because you've never even heard of a level 10 meeting, I failed you, you didn't fail me. Does that make sense? And so I want to step you up very carefully, one step at a time, giving you the training so I never run into this. You overwhelmed me. What the heck? How can you expect me to do that? I don't even know what that is. If you're moving to this job position, all of the things that we expect you to do were trained before they were your responsibility. Does that make sense? Question?
So the question is, like, from junior level 3 or senior level 1, like, how long is it looking?
How efficient can you use your office hours? Do you time block, and do you come in strategically when there are opportunities to make phone calls, or do we make one phone call every 3 weeks? Because I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a really long time if you make 5 phone calls a month to get lead calls down. Does that make sense? And so they are working on time blocking their time to have strategic training time where they have opportunities for you to do larger numbers of phone calls or listen to larger numbers of phone calls.
Yeah, we've been working on this in Gainesville, and we don't really have people come in on Mondays or Thursdays to try and get training time in, besides our people who already know how to do stuff, because Monday is a very important day to kick off the week, and we got to just get stuff going. And Thursday, there just isn't a ton of opportunity besides, hey, go call all these people about a.
But those Tuesday, Wednesday from like 2 to 4, you could churn through 15, 20 phone calls and have the time to have those discussions with your program director or head instructor about how you did, what you could improve, get that coaching that you need. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this is all being worked on in your manager's time blocking as well, because they are now held responsible for assisting you to do all of these things. Does that make sense? And so on and so forth. We could have done this junior level 1, junior level 2, but those things that you're training on happen when? On the mat during class. There's 25 hours of that you can get your reps in. Now, do we encounter weird stuff on the mat? All the time. Are there a lot of things to absorb on the mat? There are. There's a ton of stuff. Just the discipline we talked about earlier is hundreds of hours of just running into that problem with a kid and having the opportunity to pump a kid up, right? And so the more hours you can get into class, the more classes that you can be intentional about your training while you're teaching, it's going to be huge. But I want you to have that mindset. I'm in class teaching class, but this is also an opportunity for me to grow as an instructor. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Questions about this? Do you see what I'm trying to go for here?
Yes.
I want it to be intentional. There is program time where you are not responsible for it, but you have the opportunity to do it at every single level so that you are being built up to the next level, not abandoned in the next level and then expected to run with it and just rise to the occasion. Because we don't rise to our goals, we fall the level of our understanding of the systems. Does that make sense? And that was the problem, is I had a huge flaw where it's like, I just know that, someday McKay is going to be a director. Well, let's just make him a director. I can't do that. Does that make sense? I can't just go, surprise, you're going to run around and fix everything at every school. That doesn't make sense, right? I want every one of you to level up multiple levels, and I want you to do it quickly. But I have to know, and your team has to know, that you understand the system so that you don't fall to the level of your understanding of those systems. So we have been working very hard over the last 1.5 years to create the systems, to improve the systems, and now to have a much better way of delivering the systems to you in Trainual will make a huge difference for this as well. Question about this very boring white slide?
No.
This is, I think, the meat and potatoes of what we're trying to accomplish here, is give you a much better understanding of what it is. So I will just tell you, your job description is something you need to look at on a regular basis. Don't go take this home and throw it in a box and never look at it again. If you don't understand every single item on your job description, and to be honest, understand what needs to happen on every single job item on your job description for the next level, and maybe about half of the stuff for the level after that, we aren't being intentional about asking for the coaching that we need.
I took my job description home, and there's yellow highlighter, which is things that I know, but I know I need more work on. And there were a few things on there that are highlighted in pink that literally say, "Help, please." Because I was like, I don't even know how to do that crap.
Does that make sense?
Right? So
Everyone should be in that boat, and that's what I would recommend you do, is you take it home and take 2 colors of highlighter. One is leave things blank, unhighlighted if you're pretty solid, right? Okay, so look, Nate's is the same way. He's got red, green, green, red, green, red. Oh crap, there's an X on that one. I don't know what that means. That doesn't look good. Never done it, okay? Red, green, red, green, red, green, red, red, green, red, green, red, red, etc. Does that make sense? I want you to live in this job description, yeah.
And to expand on what McKay said, in an effort to be accountable, he actually brought it to me and said, "How do you feel about this? Do you agree?"
Ask somebody, please. Probably your mentor or a direct supervisor that works with you and has a really good understanding of your abilities. Yes, Grace? Good question. We're going to assign you a mentor. It'll probably be a new person. We're going to tweak that whole system. It's a whole thing we're revamping. We have people who are being mentored, but it's not very effective currently. Totally our fault. We just haven't systemized it to the point where we need to systemize it. Okay, so you'll probably get a new shiny mentor. Wow, that's a great slide.
Shiny.
Oh, okay. Whew. All right. So in Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Outliers, The Story of Success, he says to become a master of something takes 10,000 hours. Now, to put that in context, this is why I asked Braxton what he thought about the enrollment conferences. But let's talk about teaching. We teach about 25 hours a week of classes. If you were intentionally training your teaching skills and working on daily improving in every single class, which, let's be honest, that doesn't happen, right? We're looking at 8.3 years of full-time teaching to master the art of teaching amazing classes. I taught for a long time. I didn't teach 25 hours, and they sure as heck were not intentional every minute of every day in upping my game as much as I would like to be that cool. Have any of us been teaching full-time, intentionally training and improving ourselves for 8.3 years?
We don't even have any employees that have been here 8 years.
Okay, so that's a lot of time. And I don't expect you to check something off your list. Well, we don't check things off lists. I'm sorry. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I don't expect you to have 10,000 hours of anything. But if you're in the honest 20 to 30, 40 hours of doing something, you're not probably super competent at it yet. Sorry. We need to he also talks about like the 100 hours being a really solid benchmark, that if you have been intentionally training at a task and improving your craft, that 100 hours would be a solid, probably competent at doing that thing. So I would argue 1,200 enrollment conferences puts you in the couple hundred hours, right?
So I did a rough estimate because I was curious. It ended up being closer to 1,000 to 1,200.
Okay, so 1,000.
20% of the way to 1,000 hours.
1/5 of the way there.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
But
Are you pretty comfortable that you could roll with pretty much anything that happens? I would think so, right? That's insane. I just want you guys to have a perspective that mastery is something that we're going to attain over a lifetime. I would argue there's very few people in the world that have that level of mastery at teaching. Dave Kovar, Roland Osborne, maybe Nick Peterman, who was a head instructor for 17 years straight. So I'm saying, like that's where you would have an innate understanding of a class, of the students, of what needs to happen. That's a lot. But when do I get to check it off my list? So, holy crap, Caleb just terrified me and just depressed me because I'm going to spend 10,000 hours learning how to do a phone call. That's not the case.
Never, because we don't check off.
We don't check things off the list, right? I spoiled that one. But when do you get to move on and add that to the I just continually do this task? What do you think? It's going to depend on the task, right?
When your manager or whoever's in charge of you says you're ready.
When you're competent, guys, for some of you that may be I did it 100 times and I'm solid. I am really good at doing this thing. If you're like me, it may be 250 times. It may be 500 times. I don't know. Is it an awesome call? Can you continually improve your awesome calls? I would imagine so. But can I trust you to do a pretty good awesome call after you've done like 50 to 100 awesome calls?
Yeah.
Probably. Now, if it's a call to nominate someone for Black Belt Club, is that maybe a little bit more intense? Am I going to expect a higher level of performance from you on those?
Yeah.
Why?
More responsibility.
It's more responsibility. What? Why?
That's way bigger of an impact. Now, awesome calls have a big impact, but upgrade call is way bigger.
Yep. That awesome call turns into an upgrade call, right? Into a nomination call. And the nomination call is now navigating not just, I love your kid, I think they're doing amazing. You got to see Johnny's front kicks. Seriously, I'm going to take a video next time he's in class. This is amazing. Just tell him I said I'm proud of him. Boom, you're done. Now we're going to start asking questions, and we have to understand how to ask those questions to get to where we want to go to help that kid move into the next program because we know it's going to be good for them. And that's a whole value conversation, and it's got a lot more weight to it for them and for the business, because if it goes wrong, you might offend somebody. If you're talking about programs and money and prices and schedules and all that stuff, right? You're talking about their kids' emotions. It also has more weight for the business because now you are taking on a sales role. Okay, and then Nate?
One of my favorite quotes about like improvement is improvement can be beaten into submission through repetition. And basically, what you shared afterwards was I wanted to be the best at it was a car sales company at the time. Because I wanted to be the best. So when everyone else would make 50 phone calls, I would make 100. Or when everyone else took the weekend off, I was at home studying.
Yeah.
And he's like, I did more work than everyone else, and because of that, I got better than everyone.
Yeah. So there's a study they did at a university, Yale or something like that. They had 2 pottery classes of 100 people each. And one class, their assignment was to make the perfect pot. Their best pot. The other class was assigned to put out the highest volume of pots humanly possible. And whoever had the highest number of pots would get the highest grade, and it was graded on a curve. At the end of the semester, which group of people do you think made better pots? The more pots by a huge margin. Their pots were more, they were thinner, which is hard to get. They were better shaped. They were more symmetrical because they were just doing it more. Instead of spending all this time agonizing over one, they were massively better at their job because they had done so many and made so many more mistakes in the process. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So I want to help you guys get as many reps as humanly possible for everything. Hope. Oh, Nate, then Heidi, then Hope. Whew.
Yeah, on the calls this last week, I was going through my upgrade list and I'm like, man, who should I call? And one kid popped into my head of like, man, she's been rocking it. I'm just going to call her and full send the nomination. But she wasn't originally on my upgrade list. And that one call resulted in an appointment. They paid in full. And so it was like a $6,000 call. So it's like the weight of that just takes that, knowing how to guide it to get it to that point.
And I'd say when in doubt, give them a call. Ask some questions. See how they're doing. What is it going to hurt? If it doesn't result in you going through the whole nomination process, at least you made a really good, awesome call for that kid, right? Heidi.
So how long have you owned the business?
Am I going on 19 years now?
Yep.
Going on 19 years. What's the question about?
And are you still shocked by the random things that happen?
My mind gets blown, guys. You guys tell me stuff and my head explodes on a regular basis. I can't even fathom the crap that comes out of some of your parents' mouths. And you're so patient with them, I would probably go, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. Go, please, sorry. I can't handle it. You guys are amazing.
But I think you have to have a lot of reps. You have to know how to roll with the punches. You gotta know. Because parents are gonna throw different things at you.
And after a while, all of the weirdness really kind of forms itself into some categories, and then you have a really pretty good idea of knowing how to deal with it. And that's the difference. You kind of go, oh, that's like that family, so we're just going to do this, and then so that's what we're going to tell them.
That's why you have to have the experience.
Right? And it's just that time. Nate, you just went. Hope.
Okay.
I think you were the one who told me this. Maybe it was somebody else. I feel like it was Grandpa or you. It's like you practice it not until it's perfect, but you practice it until you can't get it wrong.
And that's exactly it. Yep. That's an old Marine Corps mantra or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like Kevin told me that.
That sounds like a Grandpa Kevin thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we in the process, right? I wish I could give you just a magical chart that looks like this. So it's like, okay, you are 80% done with perfecting the awesome call process.
No.
That is really hard for me to quantify that. Does that make sense? How are you going to know where you're at? Because if I could summon some kind of app that would track this and you would get to close your little circles, and it would be all magical. Wouldn't that be super nice?
That'd be awesome.
Great.
And if you gave us confetti, I'd do it every day.
Hey, I'll give you confetti. If we can complete some of these things, I'll give you guys confetti.
The confetti is 0.0001 Bitcoin.
Do you understand? Like, how? What is the system for this? How do we find this information out?
I don't think there's really a good one, but my brain goes to until you're consistently successful.
Yeah, until your metrics tell you that you are good at doing that thing over a period of time, right? So I would argue that your one-on-ones and your quarterly reviews and your end of shift reports are going to tell me where you are at in these things. Why those three things? And who does those three things? Hope, what do you think?
Well, like your mentor. So when McKay was my mentor, we went through the list. I don't even know where it was. But it was
Yeah,
on one of those.
having one-on-ones essentially, right?
And it you know where you're at, and it puts different things.
Does that make sense? Michael, what do you think?
So, I'm just gonna shout out McKay on this one. So, I was learning how to do lead calls. I'd done that a couple thousand times. But McKay was like, "You're not doing good enough on it." I was doing pretty good. I could go and get more than half, 7%. Okay, anytime I told him that I got hold of something, I'd say, "No, why?" Get to the point for him. Why?
Okay. We're checking, we're tracking, we're working, we're improving, we're getting feedback, we're getting the reps in, but reps don't matter if there's no feedback tied to those reps. Okay?
Jake, Kaden, Ashley.
Okay, Jake.
I just, Kaden said that you're consistently successful. I think it's more than just consistently successful. You're consistently consistent, right? That's how you know that you're doing the right thing. Is you're consistently consistent at these things.
Yeah.
Because if you're not consistently consistent, then you'll never be consistently successful. But then, how do you know you're successful at that point? Because once you're consistently consistent, then you can start to figure out, okay, well, what's going to make me successful?
What little improvements do we need to make?
Right.
How do we tweak
What do I
this?
tweak?
What else could I say?
Those one-on-ones, that feedback. That's why
Okay.
the conversations we've had earlier in the day are so important, and that's why you need to go out and seek. Michael saying, "Hey, going to McKay. Hey, I did this lead call. Well, did you close it? Did you get the appointment? No. Okay. What was the conversation? And
Let's review it. Let's go through that and role play it.
Because,
Does that make sense, guys?
And then maybe even have McKay sit in on the next one so that he can hear. Okay, Michael said this. Okay, maybe McKay can't hear the other side of it, but at least McKay can hear what Michael's saying, and then go, Michael, maybe next time don't say this or this.
Go this
or
direction
try
instead.
that instead, and then you can get better feedback.
Yeah. Do you see how if you had consistent one-on-ones with your manager and with your mentor, you could probably get a much better picture of where you're at?
Something that I'll admit I'm really bad at, but is really important is your end of shift report. Because for manager side of things, your end of shift report tells us exactly how the school is doing, what we need to improve on, what we're doing great, and it starts at the hourly employee, right? You need to build that consistency of
Turning it in every single night.
report is showing your metrics.
How many of you, in all honesty, are like 80% or better on your end of shift report?
Tyler, put your hand in the air. That's about it.
Except for Saturdays.
Okay. How many of you have subsequently left at least $20 or $30 on the table every 2 weeks because you haven't turned in your end of shift report, or maybe you don't understand it? An awesome call is worth how much?
50 cents.
You make, let's make my math easy, you make 6 awesome calls a night, it's $3. And then we have a quarterly review. and you work a 3-hour shift every day and you want $1 an hour raise, but we didn't do the thing that would have given us the $1 per hour that we already could have been doing, what is the incentive for me as a business owner to give you a raise so that you can just continue to not do the thing that I wanted you to do that you could have been paid the extra $1 for already? Whew. Did I make my point?
Just fill out your initiative reports and do your stuff.
Okay, we're talking about consistency. I'm going to be watching to see who is getting the extra money. Michael, you've gotten like $200 in a paid period, right?
Yeah, we had a really, really, really good graduation.
Okay, he did a 2-week course. He enrolled like 10 people or something, made a bunch of awesome calls, made some lead calls, and you get bonused on every single one of those things. And it resulted in an extra $200 in 2 weeks. Hope has been there before where she's made $150, $200 extra because she's just doing the thing we asked her to do. Fill out your end of shift report. Honestly, if it's 6 awesome calls a night and you make an extra $3 every day and you work 4 days a week, what's that? $12, $24 every pay period times 48 weeks, what's that?
Oh, man.
12 times 48 is what?
12 times
24
48.
squared.
It's
A lot.
576.
yeah.
Almost $600 if you just made your awesome calls every year.
How many shoes?
That's a lot of shoes, Hope. Anyway, so please fill out your end of shift reports. How can we help you if you're in a position where it says, how many lead calls did you make? And you don't fill that out. Well, 1, we don't know if you got any opportunities for the reps. And 2, we don't know how effective you were because then we're going to say, how many appointments did you schedule? How do we know how many appointments you scheduled if you didn't fill out the damn report? Fill out your TPS report. No. Only these old people get it. It's too bad. Okay. So, how do I move up then? We work on those skills, we drive through those skills, we push ourselves, we get our reps in, and we report to the people who can then help us become better at those so we can move faster. I don't want to go, well, okay, if you want to be considered good at lead calls, I expect you to do 1,000 lead calls. That's going to take you a while. I would rather you do 200 or 300 lead calls with meaningful feedback happening from your mentor and your manager throughout the 200 to result in the same level of competency in 1/3 or 1/4 of the time. Does that make sense? And that's what I'm trying to get here is, yes, we got to have reps, but in our slide where it said 10,000 hours, the second thing was that's 25 hours a week of intentional daily improvement and training. How intentional are we being about improving? Couldn't we be much, much, much more intentional about our improvement? Couldn't we be doing them in the office with the manager there? Maybe they're writing an email. But they hear your econ go, dude, why did you say that? That was weird. Don't do that. Do this instead. Oh, okay, that's great. There's probably better ways to coach, but you get the point. Okay. 1, you got to have an understanding of all of your responsibilities. You need to read your job description, know what's in it, and know where you stand on each one of them. And for the new role, are you aligned with the company? Do you have the drive and desire to help your coworkers grow? Because that's going to factor into how well you take and give feedback, right? And do your efforts now show excellent results? Do your numbers, do your metrics, do your reports, do the numbers of the school show that you actually understand how to do those things that you claim you know how to do? And do you embody the core values of the company and strive to live them in and out of the school? Meaning, when you call someone, are you speaking inspirationally? When you have a naughty kid, instead of yelling at them on the mat, we're building them up. We're finding the solution to help them improve the behavior. Can I help you?
Sorry. How long till dinner? You got sterno stuff and nothing, you don't light it?
Yeah, 15 minutes. Okay, does that make sense? Are you doing it for the right reason and are you doing it in the right manner? Because we have had employees that got excellent results in the short term, but the way they went about getting them showed a lack of character. Does that make sense? Okay, and have you been hitting your metrics consistently for a period of time?
A long.
Okay, a long period of time, meaning more than a week. It's like, yes, I hit my goal this week. Sweet, last week sucked. That's not a track record. Does that make sense? We got to go for a little while so that I know that you're not going to implode, because we've also had people want more and more responsibility. And then the second they got it, it crushed them, they bailed, and they couldn't handle it. So I want to see that you can handle doing all these things for a while. Does that make sense?
On that, in October, when
the world ended for many people.
When the harvesting happened. And it all, when that all happened, and I was moved up to kind of the senior instructor position at Clinton, I was only a level 2 instructor, and I drowned for the first week and a half. Luckily, I had Lorraine. Where are you, Lorraine? You're pretty cool. Because Lorraine came in and she saved my butt countless times, but I was not ready, and it was a position that I was dying for. I mean, you could ask Jennifer and Caleb. I wanted nothing more than to be level 3, and then immediately after senior instructor, and then immediately after that, assistant manager. And sometimes I still kind of am that way. But
which is okay. I want you to want stuff. I want you to want to grow. That's fine.
The way I wanted it, I got it, and I was dying. And so the ability to stay consistent and do it right a majority of the time is really important, because you're going to drown if you get too much too fast. Trust me.
I don't want the fire hose situation to be the case for everybody. Okay? Questions? All right. So I know you have heard some variation of this before. Slow is smooth and smooth is speed, or smooth is fast, right? Said every karate instructor ever, and maybe a Navy SEAL or two. What does this mean? And why would I put this at the end of my presentation?
It means that if you do something slowly and smoothly, you can slowly increase how fast you can do it, because you can do it smoothly, which means that you can do it faster.
Okay, so let's apply. Give me an application in what we do. One of you.
One big thing is, if I'm going to teach you how to do a jab cross on the bags, and I start with the fastest version of it, you're going to be missing so many details that by the time I go back and fix it 3 or 4 times, if we had just done it the right way and broke it down at a level that
and taken the time to do it.
Time to explain it. By the time we got to the max speed, it would have been faster to start slow than just try and go for it and then backpedal 5 or 6 steps and then go forward.
Absolutely. And I felt like we've been doing a lot of that. We got to go retreat and fix stuff. Do you guys feel that sometimes? Where we're like, oh, well, hey, actually, this is how you need to do it. Michael, then Jaden.
Yeah, something that baffled me when I got here is I go teach black belt club. Where the kid goes in their first couple black belt club classes, they do like a gold belt or a yellow belt or a white with yellow stripe, and we'd be teaching them in tornado kick. I was like, I didn't even learn this one until I was like purple belt and a brown belt. And there are so many steps beforehand to you get to a tornado kick. You need to learn front kick first, then you need to learn crescent kick, then you need to learn a turning crescent, and then you need to learn to go an actual tornado kick. So being able to go break down those steps is super important, because if you just go and throw them in the deep end, they're going to drown. Or vice versa, if you go and rush straight in, you're going to crash and burn.
Yeah. Any other comments? Jaden, you were up here first.
I think this applies to your presentation a lot, because you don't want to take shortcuts and end up drowning later, like you said. So it's good to take the time to build it up so you know what you're doing.
That's right. Grace?
In my mind, it's kind of like what we tell students that want to go, and go super fast. It's kind of our way of saying, like, be patient, everything will come to you in time. Just do what you need to at the moment.
Take your course.
1,000 times, right? Questions? Comments? We can debate as much as you want.
I am flesh and I am bone, rise up, ting ting like glittering gold.
I would just like you guys to think about this, okay? Everyone wants to be the next thing now, but it might take a little while, but I think you'll be better off because of it, okay? That's really loud. Okay, the whole thing exploded. I don't know what I did. I broke something. Okay. Okay, that's the volume. That was scary. Yeah, well, I probably ruined something. Well, that's fine. We won't. Thank you guys very much. This is going to be a huge undertaking to implement what we just talked about, and it's going to be a huge step up in accountability for anyone who is a mentor, a manager, the director, we're going to be very, very busy. Dude, someone tooted. What is going on?
You're wondering the same thing.
Who's blowing them back down here? Okay, I'm going to come stand over here.
Fan is back there, so we.
Oh.
Look at you guys.
My eyes watered.
Okay, we're going to go eat. Good Foxconn.
Can we move the couches first?
Yes, please.
Yes, actually, some of my hefty gentlemen who have good hips, please move the couch. Okay, I got to get out of here. I don't know what you guys did.